Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another episode of Ask the Doctor. I am your friendly neighborhood doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and CHOQ Chief Scientific Officer, Dr. Matt Dorsey. And let's see who's here. I've got Chucky Wee, very cool. Seen you here plenty of times. Alan Ott. You might be a new viewer. I don't know if I recognize that name, so welcome. Yeah. How's everybody doing this Monday? How was your weekend? I went camping and actually it was really nice to get off the grid for a little while. Okay, Alan, looks like you're new. Very cool. Well, welcome. Hello, Laura. Welcome back. No, you're definitely one of our regulars. Dylan, hello. Chewy, how you going? How you guys doing? Yeah, nice to see some folks showing up early. Gustavo, hello. Yeah, all right, cool. Well, yeah, I was just saying that I had an opportunity to sort of practice what I preach this weekend by getting off the grid, not using my phone for a whole weekend, just doing some camping, and it was just absolutely beautiful to just get out into nature and away from the city, away from Wi-Fi, away from the cell phones, just being on airplane mode for a whole weekend, did some earthing, got lots of sunlight. So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I need to do it more often. I need to get out of the city more often. So yeah, apologize for cats. It's a bad habit. No worries, Alan. That's fine. I'm not offended if you use all capitals. Perhaps others might be, but I'm fine with it. So, but anyway, yeah, it was great, and yeah, just hope you guys also have some opportunities sometimes to get the heck out of the city and just treat yourself to a nice little getaway. Whether you have to just go camping or if you got maybe a friend's private property who's a little bit farther out, or whatever you can do. It's definitely, I think, really critical for mental health and physical health to get away from the city sometimes if you do live in the city. Perhaps you already live on a big piece of property and you are more remote and you have lots of land. And that's fantastic if you're one of the few people who has that. But yeah. Hello, Mohammed. How's it going? Good to see you again. Destry, hello. Rafatel, cool. Seeing a lot of familiar faces here. So I don't know if you guys saw or not, but here, I'm going to post this link right now in the chat. Next week, it's going to be Friday of next week. So Friday, it's like the 19th, right? Yes, Friday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Central. Click on that link right there. I'm going to do something called The Dark Side of Keto. I'll just go ahead and type that in. Here we go. Just so you guys, The Dark Side of Keto. Yes. So I did send an email out earlier to this effect. And if you guys would like, if you're interested in this, click on the link there, give it a like, and then set a reminder so that it will, so that YouTube will let you know, remind you when it's going to be going live. It's going to be another in-depth 90-minute presentation. So about as in-depth as the Stay Human that I did. Stay Human episode 1, that is. And Destry says, I did keto a long time and I can vouch for it being a bad diet. Interesting, Destry. Yeah, what was your overall impression in terms of how it affected your body, your mind, etc.? I'm curious what negative effects you saw. So since I've been in the nutrition game for a while now, been doing this for a minute and seeing patients, seeing clients, as a health coach and as a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, this is a topic that has come up a lot, and I have done a massive amount of research regarding keto. What I do have to say is that, so number one, yes, of course, keto can help you lose weight. Absolutely. It's totally obvious, right? It can be highly successful in losing weight. However, it is not the only way to lose weight. When I lost a bunch of weight several years ago, I actually increased my carbohydrate intake and decreased my fat intake. And that's what enabled me to lose about 50 pounds. Just FYI. So low carb is not the only way to lose weight. Now, some of the topics I'm going to be going into are how keto actually worsens your insulin sensitivity. Now, does that seem strange, right? Because like when you're on a keto diet, what we do know is that your blood sugar will go down, right? If you measure your blood sugar when you're on keto, right, because you have hardly any carbs coming into your body, clearly your blood sugar will go down, right? So if you measure blood sugar via either fasting glucose or what's called A1C, which A1C is an indirect measurement that's an average of 2 to 3 months of your blood sugar. If you measure it that way on a keto diet, it will go lower because there's no carbs coming in. However, one thing that's interesting to know is if you give somebody on keto who's been doing it for a while what's called a glucose challenge or glucose tolerance test, GTT, that is a completely different kind of test. What that does is it actually introduces a lot of carbohydrates into your body. They give you about 100 grams of pure glucose to drink. And then what they do is they measure how quickly your body is actually able to process that glucose and get it out of the bloodstream. So it's a glucose challenge, right? It's actually introducing glucose and it's evaluating to what extent your cells can pull that glucose out of the blood and get it into the cells. And people who've been on keto for a while will fail this test massively. Now, why is that? Well, what's actually happening over time with keto is that you tend to have fat accumulation inside of many of your cells, particularly the muscle cells. And this is called ectopic fat. Here, I'll type this in so you guys can follow with me. Ectopic. There's two different terms for it. They're both a little bit esoteric. Ectopic fat, or also called intramyocellular lipid, or IMCL. And what this fat accumulation inside the cell tends to do is it actually interferes with glucose utilization, with glucose transport, with the cell's ability to pull glucose in from the bloodstream and convert it to energy, also known as ATP, right? So as long as you stay on keto and you don't ever put carbs in your body, then you won't realize that your insulin function has actually gone way down. But as soon as you put carbs in your body, you're going to have an exaggerated negative effect from those carbs. And what that tends to do is it tends to actually reinforce the idea that carbs are inherently bad, right? Because you're like, well, I was on keto for a while, then I, ate some healthy carbs, some fruit or whatever, and I felt really weird and my blood sugar went up, and so therefore carbs are bad. No, carbs are not bad. Absolutely not. Especially, obviously, we're talking about the healthy ones, right? Nobody's advocating massive amounts of table sugar and candy and junk like that. High fructose corn syrup, obviously not, right? But it's very important to know that what will tend to happen with people on keto is, they'll go on it for a while and they'll go off of it. And then when they go off of it, it'll be a really weird experience where they go back on carbs, whether the healthy carbs or not. Either way, their insulin function has actually decreased significantly, right? So that's one term, or one thing we're going to discuss on this presentation next week. Another one is that there are serious cardiovascular risks associated with keto. So, keto obviously a lot of the time tends to be large amounts of meat. There are some people who attempt vegan keto, but that's rare. And large amounts of meat are just plain bad for you. Now, I'm not advocating veganism for everyone. I'm not saying that everyone has to be vegan or vegetarian even, but we are obsessed with meat and protein in the United States, and it's a completely cultural and not a scientific thing at all. I personally have been vegan in my life. I'm currently not, but I eat small amounts of meat, preferably fish, and no more than once per day. I'll sometimes skip days where I, go multiple days without eating any meat. And that is absolutely the way to go if you choose to eat meat. If you don't choose to eat meat, that's fine too. So I'm not saying everybody has to be vegan or anything like that. as a health coach and a practitioner, when I'm coaching my clients, most of the time I'll just say, look, if you want to go try vegan, you certainly can do that. But it's not really 100% necessary to heal. What you need to do, though, is for your health is you need to actually eat less meat. You can't be eating meat 2 or 3 times a day. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's only so much stomach space per meal at the same time, right? And so if you think about it, a lot of your critical micronutrients, a lot of the nutrients that support your immune system, support, for example, healthy inflammatory response, those are in the fruits and vegetables a lot of the time in much larger amounts. So when you eat excessive amounts of meat, you're cheating yourself out of the ability to get enough vegetables with that meal a lot of the time. So you really want to decrease the meat intake, increase the vegetable intake in terms of your ratios, right? So yeah, the large amounts of meat, absolutely, there is massive evidence suggesting that is not healthy for your cardiovascular system. It will play with your cholesterol levels. It will increase cardiovascular inflammation. And and also, dietary cholesterol, there's this big debate on whether or not eating cholesterol actually has a negative effect on your cardiovascular system. And there is evidence to suggest that, yes, actually still it is not a great idea to eat large amounts of cholesterol. Furthermore, there are certain types of animal tissues that people really tend to eat lots of on keto. One of them is actually egg, right? Not technically meat, but still an animal tissue. Eggs are extremely highly associated with cancer, actually, and also negative cardiovascular outcomes. Eggs are not, so even if you're a vegetarian and you're eating a lot of eggs, that's not good for you. In fact, I would actually rather, knowing what I know about how bad eggs are for you in so many ways, I would rather a lot of my clients actually eat meat than eggs, especially if it's a leaner meat, if it's maybe lean poultry or something like that. Actually better for you than eggs. Eggs are not a healthy food at all. Yes, they have certain nutrients in them. They have folate, they have choline, they have DHA, albumin, there's good stuff in eggs, but the data shows that they massively increase your risk of cancer, even more than processed meat, which is oftentimes considered a straight up carcinogen. So very, very important. And when I say eggs, I mean all eggs. I mean, even the healthiest ones from a completely organic chicken, from your backyard, it's inherent to the egg. And yes, if you're going to eat eggs, you want to have a higher quality egg. Of course, it does matter, but not that much, actually. Not nearly as much as you think. So this is inherent to all eggs. So if you're megadosing on eggs and a lot of really fatty meats and dairy and things like that, that is absolutely horrible for you. It's not a healthy way to eat. The problem is a lot of people associate weight loss with health, right? So they're like, oh, I did the keto diet, therefore I must therefore be getting healthier, right? Right. So if you're losing weight, you're getting healthier. No, absolutely not. Right. Like anyone who's ever seen a crack addict or a meth addict, right, knows that losing weight is not always healthy. So if you try a diet and you lose weight, that doesn't necessarily indicate that diet is healthy for you. Right. Now, also, of course, we have individual variations. So there are certain kinds of people who will do better on keto than others. Doesn't mean that everyone is going to get the same negative effects, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. So no diet is one-size-fits-all. There are a lot of people who claim to go vegan, and then they say that at a certain point, it doesn't work for them, and they have to start eating some meat again, and then they feel better, right? And why that is exactly is unclear, but I have heard that story from dozens and dozens or perhaps hundreds of people who I've coached. And I know that there are some people, for whatever reason, perhaps genetic, maybe they do need to eat some meat, but you still need to have smaller amounts of meat, smaller amounts of fat, moderate fat, and healthy carbohydrates. Your brain absolutely needs carbohydrates. And in fact, if you're an athlete, keto is completely antithetical to athletic performance. Insulin, which, you need insulin, right? So insulin doesn't just get rid of the blood sugar from your the sugar from your blood and get it into the cell, right? So hopefully most of y'all know, maybe not, but just a quick review here. What insulin does is, right, it opens the door in the cell. Here's their cell. There's a door right here. And it just asks it lets the glucose in from the blood so it can go into the cell and get converted to energy. Now, when you don't have hardly any carbs coming in, your insulin levels will go down because the insulin is a response to the carbohydrates coming into your blood, the sugar in the blood. Now, insulin has other functions, though. It's also a hormone that's extremely anabolic. It actually helps you put on muscle, helps with muscle, with athletic performance, all sorts of stuff. Insulin is not a bad thing. And so, yes, you do need insulin for other purposes, and lack of insulin is not helpful. On top of that, excess amounts of fat in the blood increase your blood viscosity. So how thick your blood is, how resistant it is to flow, is in many ways a function of how much fat you're eating. And there are, if anyone's ever seen it is a vegan documentary called Game Changers. If anyone's ever seen this, then, let's see here. Hold on. This is weird. I have a little issue with my monitor here. Dang it. Let's see what happens. If I can fix this. Thought we were done with all the tech issues, but looks like we got another one here. At least YouTube is streaming properly. Huh. Well, let's see here. Darn. Let me see if I can just turn the external off because it seems to be acting up, and see if we can do this a different way. Darn it. Sorry for the interruption, guys. 1 second here. Well, that is very annoying. Huh. Very annoying indeed. Okay, there we go. All right, sorry for the delay there. Had a weird thing where my monitor just shut off for some reason. The signal dropped, but now it's back. Anyway, so yeah, long story short though, like I was saying, there are many different reasons that one person might be negatively affected more so than keto, by keto than others. One thing I have noticed is that keto is especially horrible for women on average. Not true in all cases, but on average, men tend to have an easier time with low carb and keto than women. I have had to save certain clients, and most of them female, from keto because, I had one who was actually getting chest pains. Her cardiologist was really concerned about her symptoms. And she told me that. And the first thing I said is, when I first met her, are you doing some kind of keto type diet? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, when did you start the keto diet? She said, about 2 or 3 months ago. And I said, when did your cardiovascular symptoms start? About 2 months ago. Oh, I see. Yes, right. And part of that is a function of the increase in blood viscosity from fat overdose, from all that fat being in the blood, making the blood more resistant to flow, putting a harder load on the heart. And that also can have negative effects in terms of your ability to just get oxygen to your tissues, right? You want your blood to be flowing correctly for that purpose, and it's not good for that. But yeah, obviously, if you're a fairly strong person with in good health, if you're already in really good shape, doing something like keto, you're not probably going to notice nearly as many negative effects. If you're somebody who, is in, like I said, great health and all that, and you're doing something like that, it's very possible that you won't notice any negative effects. It might take several years to propagate and actually start showing negative effects, or, you might be one of the rare people who can get away with it for the long term, right? And so there is a such thing as individual variation in their response, but women tend to react very badly to keto. One of the reasons for that, and again, not all women, but much more so common to have negative reactions as female than men, in my experience anyway. And one of the reasons for that is that the female endocrine system, female hormones, are actually dependent on carbohydrates. So in terms of fertility, one of the things driving the fertility crisis is this obsession with low carb diets, actually, particularly with respect to women. there are mechanisms in place in the female endocrine system where basically when the carbs go too low, fertility actually gets ramped way down. That's another important thing to know. And this idea that carbs inherently are bad for your blood sugar is absolutely ridiculous. There's a whole program called Mastering Diabetes, and this program there's a guy named Cyrus Kambata, PhD, who runs it. And he himself is a type 1 diabetic, right? So he's a guy who's in good shape and he's healthy, but he has type 1 diabetes, which type 1 means that you can't actually produce insulin. The cells called islet cells that are in your pancreas that produce insulin have been destroyed by what they call an autoimmune process, essentially, which is actually probably viral in nature. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so basically, what happens is that you will get this effect where everyone seems to think that carbs are inherently bad for your blood sugar, right? Mastering Diabetes actually helps to reverse diabetes, this program, on a high carb, low fat diet. Now, how is that even possible? Does that sound bizarre, right? They have an excellent track record of basically decreasing your blood sugar significantly, right? Or if you're type 1, decreasing how much insulin you have to inject. Because unfortunately for type 1 people, they can't produce any insulin, so they're insulin dependent for their whole lives. But the thing is that essentially the goal is to inject the least amount of insulin you need, right? So you want to, meaning that you just have the highest insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. So what happens with that is, that program right there is proof, I think, is incredible proof that carbs, obviously, I mean healthy carbs, not sugar, high fructose corn syrup, right? Healthy carbs are actually absolutely essential for healthy blood sugar. And it's actually it's the fat that's actually interfering with insulin function and driving the blood sugar up, So that's another thing we're going to talk about. Just on a very practical level, you have to think about risk versus benefit ratio, right? A lot of people, again, the one thing that keto obviously does, maybe we'll say two things. One thing is it obviously does help you lose weight, right? But there are other ways to lose weight. And on top of that, it obviously can help with certain conditions like, there's some success with treating epilepsy, for example, things like that. There's a few other ones. I think there's might be some stuff on certain neurodegenerative issues, But again, risk benefit ratio, right? So perhaps the benefits are so high if you're one of these people that has epilepsy, maybe. But most people are just doing it for weight loss. And I think that the risk benefit ratio is not in favor of keto for weight loss at all. It just isn't. Particularly when you take into account some of these studies that are showing huge increases in cardiovascular risk and all-cause mortality. So, yes. So definitely come check this one out. I'm going to post it one more time for those of y'all who didn't see it the first time, who just arrived more recently. There is the link. It's next Friday, November the 19th at 6 p.m. Central. It will be a deep dive with tons and tons of scientific research behind it. And it'll be 90 minutes of great information. If you can't make it, obviously, just tune in later and watch it anytime. And make sure to share this one with your friends because this is an important one. I think that too many people are on the keto bandwagon, although I've noticed it actually more recently. A lot of people are kind of more wary of it. Just based on people I've talked to, I've noticed that more people are like, no, I'm not so sure. Now, somebody says, how do I feel about paleo? Here's the thing, that paleo still tends to be high fat and lower carb. It's not as extreme as keto, right? But that's highly problematic. That is, any diet that's suggesting that you lower your carbs and eat very few carbs and eat a lot of fat is just a horrible diet, period. End of story. It's a horrible diet. Carbohydrates are absolutely essential, and so, it's all about ratios, right? What percentage of your calories you're getting from your different macronutrients, from your protein, your fat, and your carbohydrates. If you are eating a healthy diet with healthy carbohydrates, then you don't really have to, it's not a big deal. Like you're fine. You don't have to limit your carbohydrates so much. You really don't. But yeah, paleo gets a lot of things horribly wrong, and it gets a few things very right. It is a very mixed bag. And again, like I said, I don't want to be part of the food wars. I'm not saying everybody has to be vegan or anything like that. But really, so I'll tell you what paleo gets right. What paleo gets right is that paleo is really good about recommending whole foods for people, real food, right? Getting rid of all the processed junk, and also getting rid of, obviously the bad carbs like high fructose corn syrup, which is, more processed type food, right? And any kind of table sugar, stuff like that. And that's all a great thing, So paleo has helped a lot of people because it's gotten them to eat a pure type of diet, just eating, fresh stuff, and eating higher quality, more organic type stuff. And that's all wonderful. That's a great thing. But the really bad side of paleo is that it tends to recommend way too much meat, way too much fat, and it tends to also fall under this really messed up false idea that carbs are inherently bad for you. They're inherently bad for your blood sugar, and you need to limit carbs. And that is a massive mistake. I will tell you that, when I coach somebody who has blood sugar concerns, I don't decrease their carbs at all. I often increase their carbs, and their blood sugar goes down. That's right. I get people's blood sugar down by increasing their carbohydrates and decreasing their fat, because fat is so bad for insulin function. It's horrible for it. Americans don't get diabetes just from eating fruit. It doesn't happen that way. You get diabetes from eating the worst kinds of carbohydrates and a whole bunch of fat altogether, right? So when you go to McDonald's and you get your fries and your burger, right, and you get all the carbs on top of it from the bread, but also obviously the big one is going to be from the giant Coke or Dr. Pepper you're drinking with that cheeseburger and fries. Yes, even diabetics, Laura, absolutely. That is the number one and most important way to actually help that population is by getting the bad fats and fats in general lower, and then increasing the quality of the carbohydrates, and getting that all in balance. Yes. Very, very important. Now, obviously, there's a way to time it. You can't just do it all at once. You have to do it slowly, as you pull the fats out of the cells and you get the insulin function better, then you do it little by little. So you can't just, like, if somebody has bad diabetes, you can't just switch them all of a sudden to a high carb, more plant-based type of a diet with smaller amounts of meat and fat. It has to be done over time. So there is an art form to this. Absolutely. It's not always just a black and white thing. Other nutrients can also be prescribed by a practitioner that also help with insulin function. Obviously, B vitamins, magnesium, chromium, berberine, neem, lots of stuff can be really helpful for that. Berberine is one of the biggest one. Yeah. And yes, so Destry says, I'm diabetic and healing my diabetes by eating vegan, lots of fruits. That's great. Yes, I will say just straight up, if you want to just make the best progress on your blood sugar health, being vegan is one of the best ways to do that. It has an excellent track record. Now, again, not promoting veganism for everyone. You can also just, if you choose, you can also just do smaller amounts of meat. Number one rule is no more than once per day. Once per day should be the absolute maximum. And then sometimes even maybe spend a few days without, in a more cleansing type of mode where you don't have any meat. And obviously try to have leaner meats, things like that. One last thing I'll say is that we have this ridiculous obsession with protein in the United States. And this actually goes back to a while back. I think it was like during World War II. It started where we basically, I want to meet your neighbor's dog. That's a very strange. Oh, maybe I guess you're talking. Oh, talking to Alan. That's funny. My neighbor's dog uses paleo and keto. Well, dogs have a very different physiology. And they are carnivores. Humans are not true carnivores. Our digestive tract is not built for a carnivorous diet. It's built more for an omnivore or herbivorous diet. That's patently obvious. And so, yeah, very important to know that dogs are different. So they have a very vastly different physiology than humans do. On top of that, dogs can make their own vitamin C. So vitamin C tends to come almost entirely from plants, not meat. And so we actually lost the biochemical pathway, humans did a while back, that allows other animals, our predecessors, to create their own vitamin C endogenously. A lot of people don't know that vitamin C you can synthesize from glucose, and that's actually how vitamin C supplements are often made. They take glucose as a parent molecule, goes through several transformations, eventually becomes vitamin C, right? But so yeah, basically, long story short, though, vitamin C can be created by many other mammals. And that's, again, very helpful if you're eating a low vitamin C diet, such as a carnivorous diet. And dogs are true carnivores. So no, vegan is not good for dogs. It's absolutely not. I have not seen evidence that vegan is a healthy thing for dogs. So case by case basis, you have to go individual organism, you wouldn't feed your dog the same thing that you'd feed a parrot, or I mean, each organism has its own unique physiology and its own evolutionary history that predisposes that organism to eating certain kinds of foods over others, and totally different biochemistry. So that's very important to take on a case by case basis. So you can't use what one animal eats as evidence that it's good for another animal. And I've heard stories of vegans putting their dogs on a vegan diet and it going very badly. Again, maybe there's some exceptions, I don't know. But if you are a hardcore vegan and you're considering feeding your dog a vegan diet, you might want to do your research because that's probably not a great idea as far as I'm told. So again, I'm not a zealot. I'm not trying to say everybody should be vegan and veganism is the ultimate end all be all. It can be a really helpful tool for some people. And in certain cases with certain issues can be the best thing. And it can also be a temporary stepping stone where you do that for maybe a year or two, you really cleanse your system, and then perhaps you return, if it works for you, to small amounts of lean meat, which might be more sustainable for a lot of folks, Also, eating meat tends to be very satisfying. It keeps you fuller for longer. And so some people have a really hard time feeling full when they go vegan. And again, there are probably unexplained genetic reasons why some people do better with vegan than others. Some people can do it indefinitely, and it's just great for them. Other people, it's a fairly common story. People will say, I've done this for several years, and I just don't feel right unless I have some meat, and I feel better when I have some meat. But again, that doesn't mean you should just flip-flop and just go to the opposite extreme and just do all meat all day, meat and cheese keto, and all that. That's horrible for you. Of course, I will say, if you're gonna do keto, though, it's still important to actually do it the healthier way. So if you've made up your mind, you're definitely going to do keto. You don't just want to be eating meat and cheese all day. That's absolutely horrendous. You still need to have low carb plants as part of your keto plan. Lots and lots of low carb plants, very, very important. That's where you're going to get a lot of your minerals, your phytochemicals, different vitamins from. Very important. And you don't want to overdo the meat and the cheese and the eggs. Like just, try to have more plant fats, less, don't rely on just eating like bacon and, like bacon and cheese all day. That's absolutely horrible for you. So yeah, very important. So anyway, hopefully you guys will tune in. I'm sure it's probably, again, I have to say, like, obviously I one of the reasons I picked it is because I'm passionate about it. I've done a lot of research into it, and I think that there needs to be more awareness spread about it. Another one is because it is, frankly, a bit of a controversial topic. And obviously, controversial topics tend to get people's attention, So I'm sure it's good for the channel. But definitely click on that link that I sent. Give it a thumbs up so other people get excited about it. You can also click on the thing that says set reminder. Coming up in 10 days from now, Friday of next week, the 19th, 6 o'clock Central. Yeah. But yeah, and JJ says everyone is different. We all made something different and individualized. Very true. Yeah, there's absolutely, one of the things when you get stuck in this like zealotry of just like everyone should eat this one way, it's the best for everyone, is we forget how individual the human body can be, right? Now, there are certain things that are fairly universal. I think that universally keto on the grand scale is bad for 100% of people. I really do think that, right? But some people will tolerate it better than others and may not actually show negative effects for quite a while. It could be years and years before that happens. Now, they are scientifically probably increasing their cardiovascular risk profile in a negative way, moving the needle in the wrong direction in terms of cardiovascular problems. But a lot of people might tolerate it better than others. But yes, there are many other ways that we have individual variation person to person. And part of that also is psychosomatic. We have this tendency to, obviously we have strong beliefs about food depending on how we were raised, what culture we were raised in, things like that. And so very important to know that, we know this from all sorts of research on pharmaceuticals and things like that, is that placebo effect is very, very powerful, right? Your mind has a huge influence over your body. So one of the problems is with nutrition research, there are no placebo-controlled studies in certain areas because placebo-controlled study relies on something that comes in a pill form usually, right? So you could do a placebo-controlled study on vitamin C because you can put that into a pill. You can't do that on the ketogenic diet. It's literally impossible, right? Because you still need to actually see what you're eating. If you're eating whole meals, you know what's in that meal. There's no blinding. There's no placebo control. And so we have no way of knowing how powerful placebo effects are because we simply, it doesn't fit into that placebo-controlled, randomized controlled trial model of research, which is one of the top gold standards in the research world. So again, very, very hard. But yes, psychosomatic stuff is very real. That's one factor. If someone has been utterly convinced that, eating meat is bad for them, then they're going to do better on a vegan diet, or if somebody is convinced that they absolutely need meat, then they might get more negative effects from a vegan diet. That's certainly possible, right? So some things are belief dependent. Many things are, much more than we'd like to admit. The mind is very powerful. So there are confounding factors. In order to be scientifically honest, we have to disclose those confounding factors. But yeah, psychosomatic stuff is very, very powerful. All right. And speaking of psychosomatic stuff, actually, no, this has nothing to do with that. How about we give our first prize away? That might be fun. So most of y'all know the drill, but for those people who might be new, I think we have a few here. I'm going to give you guys about a minute or so. And what I'd like you to do is give me a number, just one number, one entry only, between 1 and 100. And whoever has the number closest to the randomly generated number will win prize number 1. And of course, prize number 1, as most of y'all know, is just one of any CHOQ product. So yeah, everybody get your answers in. The timer is counting down, so try to get them in as soon as you can, because if you don't get them in on time, then you will not be counted. So if you're in your kitchen right now or something, just run over to the computer and make sure you type that in. Laura says, my chat says there's only 3 people in here. That's funny because there's actually 17 according to mine. So apparently, Laura, you're getting some bad information on that. Yeah. All right. The number has been generated. Just waiting for our last few answers to come in. And just a few more seconds. And Alan, just so you know, you only get 1 entry, Alan. So I'm only going to count your first entry. All right. There we go. So you each get 1 entry. 1 entry only. No worries, Alan. I'll just go based off of your first one. All good. I know you're new to the channel here. So, all right. So the number was 40. Eswana got 41. Ooh, is she the winner here? Let's see. I believe so. Yep. Yeah, the number is 40. Eswana guessed 41. I don't see anybody else any closer to that. Wait, oh, sorry, I forgot to scroll up all the way. Yeah. Unless anyone sees anybody else who's closer to 40, I don't believe anyone else is, because we'd have to have a 39 or a 40 to compete with that 41. And so, yes, Aswana, you are our official winner, right? Is that true, right? Or somebody said Destry wins? Wait, let me see here. No. Aswana is the winner. So, Aswana, congratulations. I think actually you have probably won before, right? Or no? But yeah, congratulations, Aswana. Everybody give her a round of applause there. And yeah, so just email CHOQ@CHOQ.com, say that you won hanging out with Dr. Matt, and let them know which product you'd like. And we will do our second drawing in just a little bit here. So stick around for that. Yeah. And drawing number 2 will be, as most of y'all know, but if you're new, drawing number 2 will be for a bag of organic cacao beans, or organic heirloom cacao beans, as well as a CHOQ premium organic cotton made in the USA t-shirt. So we'll have that in just a second, so stick around for that. Aswana, yeah, I'm sure most likely you can. So if you want to do the NAC plus bromelain, just ask them. They should be able to do that. I don't see why not. Yeah, most likely so. All right. So somebody's asked, what can I do with the leftover cacao beans after I brewed it? So yeah, just so y'all know, the cacao beans, some people actually like to grind them up and then brew them like coffee, like a French press, and that's actually a really awesome way to go. You get a really nice extraction, right? It all goes right into your system because it's a water extraction, obviously, so it's very efficient. Now, what to do with them after you brewed it? Well, I mean, I guess you certainly could maybe throw them in a smoothie or eat them. You're still going to get probably a little bit of benefit from them. You're still going to get probably some fiber and things like that. Obviously, a lot of the actives will be extracted out of it. But, if you want to just not waste any of it, you could certainly do that. Maybe throw them in a smoothie, something like that, Obviously, it'd be weird to just eat, like this wet, ground up cacao paste. That probably wouldn't be very pleasant. But in a smoothie, it'd probably be fine. Yeah. Glow120 asks, what's the best B12 source? So, most important thing with B12 is you want to avoid cyanocobalamin. You want to avoid cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin is the synthetic form of B12. It does not occur anywhere in nature. It has cyanide actually bound to the B12 molecule. Now, obviously, it's considered safe because it's such a small amount of cyanide, but it still is actually cyanide. So it's not necessarily, it's a little bit strange. And just so y'all know, the way that supplements tend to work is chemists will figure out one way to make a vitamin first, right? And then later on, they'll figure out other ways to make different versions of that vitamin. The first version of B12 that was considered stable that chemists figured out how to make was not a version that occurs in nature. It's a non-bioidentical form. That's called cyanocobalamin. Now, because it's the first one that came out, it's also one of the cheapest. Because again, we've been producing this stuff for a really long time. There's already the infrastructure to make it. And just giant, barrels and barrels, tons of this stuff in warehouses all over the world. So cyanocobalamin is the cheapest. Is it the best form? Absolutely not. A better form is called methylcobalamin. And that is the form that we actually have in our CHOQ Action 2.0 right here. Yeah, let's see. Let's get this in the shot. Yeah, and we got the new label for you, looking real good on the Action 2.0. And so we use the form called methylcobalamin. So right there at the top, vitamin B12 as methylcobalamin. Yeah. Methylcobalamin is a great form. That is actually a form that's identical to the one that is in your body, And another good form another one that does work is adenosylcobalamin. That one is another natural form that does occur in nature and is in your body. And that is a form of vitamin B12 that actually is directly active in the mitochondria. That's another cool form. You can also find products that blend the two, methylcobalamin and benzylcobalamin. That's another helpful one. But yeah, so those are the ones you want to find. There's another one called hydroxycobalamin, which is also a natural form. I don't see any advantages over using that over these other two. So those are both great. Yeah. Somebody says, why do I feel great when I eat raw onion and garlic? Well, so they're both very medicinal plants. Obviously onion is considered, really just a food, whereas garlic is considered both a food and kind of medicinal herb, right? It has a lot of intense health promoting actions. I will say raw onion. So one thing that those plants both have in common, raw onion and garlic, they both actually are really excellent for the immune system. They tend to help you fight off certain kinds of invaders, help with microbiome balance. And garlic also has compounds that are helpful for detoxification, right? Raw onion on top of that actually has great benefits for the digestive system. And when you cook onion, not that you can't have cooked onions too, but when you cook onion, you do, and also garlic, you neutralize some of the healing benefits of those foods. So, you can certainly have them cooked, but if you want to get everything out of them, you want to have some of them raw as well. So if you're really needing digestive support, immune support, things like that, you want to go with raw for both of those. Now, the one caveat I have to say about garlic is it's kind of intense on the digestive system. So for some people, if you don't have a tolerance to raw garlic, when you eat it in its raw form, if you have too much, it can actually lead to some die-off type reactions, Herxheimer type reactions, where you will get some pretty nasty digestive side effects. You could get loose stools, things like that, flatulence. So that can happen with garlic. If you're real sensitive and you have digestive issues, you might want to consider doing smaller amounts of garlic first, just to make sure you tolerate it when it's in its raw form, that is. Cooked, not as much of an issue, but raw garlic, yeah. And I actually had an experience many years ago when I ate a lot of raw garlic, and I had some really negative digestive system effects from it that were pretty awful. And then, but more recently, after doing a lot of, work to clean up my diet and getting all of my whole regimen, really dialed in, my digestive system is much better. Part of that was from eliminating gluten and dairy. And now I can eat as much raw garlic as I want with no problems. So it depends on your digestive health. So at one point in my life, when my digestive system was not as functional, then I had a lot more of a problem with raw garlic. And now I can have as much as I want, and it's no big deal. So, yeah. As one asked, what does the NAC plus bromelain product do for you? So NAC is actually what is it's one of the ingredients in the original Apex glutathione formula, right? And we had to take it out because the FDA is not letting us produce supplements with NAC anymore. As of right now, you can sell some supplements with NAC still. It's unclear if they're going to ban the sale of NAC, but right now you can't produce supplements with NAC. So we had to reformulate Apex, and this is one of my favorite CHOQ products. This is amazing for just healthy inflammation response, detoxification, mood health, all sorts of stuff. The new version does not have NAC, but it does have organic milk thistle and high absorption ginkgo. So it's going to have some really cool properties for focus. So, but yeah, and milk thistle also helps your body upregulate glutathione, and so does ginkgo actually in the brain. So anyway, but what I'd like to say though is just in terms of answering your question, NAC plus bromelain, one of the main things it's actually doing for you is that NAC acts as a precursor to glutathione. NAC so it's a form of cysteine, right? So I'll just type this in here. NAC equals N-acetylcysteine. Now, cysteine is an amino acid. And so glutathione has 3 different amino acids that it's built from: cysteine, glutamine, and glycine, right? Now, out of those 3 amino acids, the one that's the least abundant in the body, and therefore is considered the rate-limiting precursor, right? It's the amino acid precursor building block to glutathione that will limit the rate at which your body can create glutathione. So it's the most important of those 3 amino acids. So when you get more cysteine into the body, you're able to produce more glutathione. And glutathione, again, not just important for detoxification, it's essential for that, but it's also really essential for healthy immune function. And so NAC, the FDA decided to get rid of it, right? And again, like I said, you can still sell NAC, but it's running out because you can't produce it anymore. And so, there's some theories that they might make it into a drug, and that's the real motivation behind getting rid of it as a supplement, because the drug companies don't want, competition. Whether that's true or not, 100%, we can't say. It's speculation at this point. But anyway, long story short, though, NAC is amazing, and we did actually make some NAC a long time ago, and just never ended up selling it. So yeah, we do. We are doing we did have a promotion where we were doing some of that, and I'm sure we'll do another promotion soon where you can get some free NAC when you order CHOQ. Yeah. So yeah. All right. And all right. Well, this show went by pretty fast. We're almost at the end here. I guess it's time for drawing number 2. So once again, I'm going to start my timer right now. You guys have 60 seconds to give me one number between 1 and 100, just like we did a second ago. And the clock is counting down. So everybody just get those numbers in. And good luck to everyone. Whoever gets the number first will, or whoever's close to the number rather, will get prize number 2, which is a bag of organic heirloom cacao beans, as well as a CHOQ t-shirt. So here we go. All right, got about 30 seconds left on the clock. So hurry up if you're away from your computer and listening from afar. You might want to just run over and do that really fast so you don't miss the boat here. Okay. All right, there we go. And the randomly generated number is number 9. So let's see here. All right, who is closest to 9? It's going to be probably the lowest number on here, I'm guessing. So CHOQTOR has 23. Is it CHOQTOR? Well, JJ, unfortunately, you guys would have, JJ, you would have gotten it. But unfortunately, you were after the cutoff there. So let's see, number 9. Let's just double check here. But yes, it certainly does seem to be. Let's say Destry had 22. Oh, yeah, is it Destry? Let's see here. Just double check. Yeah, JJ, unfortunately, you got cut off there. So. Yeah, you got to get your answer in a little bit faster next time. Yeah. So yeah, it certainly does seem to be Destry, doesn't it? Unless I'm overlooking one. Let me just do one final check. Destry has 22. Nothing else lower than 22. Therefore, yes, Destry, you are the official winner. Excellent job. Email CHOQ@CHOQ.com and let them know what size and style t-shirt you want, along with your bag of cacao beans. And if you like, if you want to just go ahead and go to the CHOQ product page and look at all the different sizes and styles available. You've got long, short sleeve, you've got the gold and the brown. And then obviously figure out what size you like, and then just email CHOQ@CHOQ.com and pardon me. And that's how you're going to get it. So thanks for playing. Very cool though. Glad you got to win, Destry. So I'm going to sign off here in a second. I'll give the link to the dark side of keto one more time here in the chat. So make sure to check that out. Give it a thumbs up. Share with your friends. Set a reminder so YouTube will remind you. it's a really funny. I thought would be kind of funny if we had an interesting graphic for it. So I hope you guys appreciate the graphic on there. It's Darth Vader with a bunch of bacon behind him. Since I call it the dark side of keto, I thought we'd make it a funny graphic for it. So, but anyway, I'm gonna head out now. I will be back around the same time tomorrow, give or take. So tune back in, guys, and come up with some interesting questions for me for tomorrow. See if you if you could stump me with any of your questions about herbs and nutrients. And I'll see y'all soon. Much love, and of course, stay human.